Alf, you look rested. Welcome back, everybody. It is another episode of the Sports Card Dad. We've got a fun one today, a little bit of debate. Jeremy Lee takes aim at the local card shop. Not what I was expecting. I'm just kidding. Not really taking aim, but kind of. So he had a very provocative, controversial tweet that got some attention here. I noticed it over the last day or two. And I thought, you know what? It's reaction time. Before I do, though, I need to address a simple fact, and sometimes people just don't seem to understand this, but it is okay to have healthy debate. There's a lot of people, hell, I've noticed over the last 5 years that emotional intelligence is really underrated on the internet. There are a lot of grown men that get really into their feelings when diving into the comments and all that sort of a thing, and that's totally fine. But just understand, I've known Jeremy for about 5 years. We started making content together. I've met him a few different times. I've talked to him on the phone. I consider him a hobby friend. So it's not an attack video on Jeremy. This is a, hey, we might disagree on this topic, and it's normal for people to have these sorts of debates, and that's fun, and that's what makes the hobby go round. Really what we have now that's different from years past is instead of this being on Blowout Forum where people are typing and going back and forth on it, now we just do it in video form. A couple of quick notes. My buddy Victory Investments on IG, he shared with me that he has come out with a children's book that's all about Jackie Robinson. I thought it sounded really interesting and he's really proud of it. He thinks that it can be a big time positive for the hobby. So I'm going to put a link. It's not an affiliate link. I think I do have an Amazon affiliate link somewhere. I just don't use it. But I'm going to put the link to the book down in the description, the video description, as well as a pinned comment. So if you want to support a fellow hobbyist, even though he is an annoying Chiefs fan, he's been working hard on that book, and I think it is a big-time positive for the hobby. So check that out. Let me know what you think of it. Also, we've got our PSA code. Guys, take money off if you've never submitted with PSA. It's SCD25 at the billing and shipping screen. Take advantage. Don't pay the extra money if you don't have to. SCD25 is the promo code over at PSA for your first submission. All right, so here's what Jeremy wrote here on Twitter, and then he reposted it on IG. So I think the idea here was I want to get some attention to this take because he did share it in a couple different places. If Whatnot and Fanatics Live are breaking casinos, then let's be honest, your LCS is one too. Ripping wax has always been gambling. Same odds, same risk, different vibe, different decor. It's not about where you rip, it's just that you're ripping. So he kind of generalizes this whole thing, which of course opens up the discussion. There's tons of nuance to this topic, in my opinion. And so this is where he got some replies back, and so they're kind of going back and forth. The one that I thought was really interesting, the sports card shop here said there's a gambling element to opening packs and boxes, but the odds aren't even close to many PYT or random team breaks. And he kind of explains kind of the differences. And then Jeremy says, I'd say the same thing if I owned an LCS. Shots fired. So we'll talk through the everything is a gamble piece in a minute, but just the very quick response that I typically have when people bring this up is that when you buy a box of cards, you are guaranteed cards. Very simply, you buy a box of cards, you are guaranteed cards. I guess there could be an instance where the manufacturer forgot to put cards in the box, but I think we can generally agree that there's going to be cards inside that box. You have purchased the box, you are guaranteed cards. If you buy into a break or a Raz, you are guaranteed nothing. You are guaranteed absolutely nothing. Now, a little bit of added nuance to this. There are some breakers out there that send every customer something, which I think is smart. So if they buy into a Lakers break and they get nothing out of it, they'll send them maybe it's a LeBron James base card, but at least the customer got something. And I think that that's smart when we're talking about just gambling regs and things like that. There are some breakers that are smart that way. Now, his statement of same odds, same risk, I mean, it depends on who's opening the cards. You're now counting on a third party to open up the box. So depending on who that third party is, you could make an argument it's not really the same risk. If you're buying a box of cards, you buy it, you hold it, you open it. There's added risks when you are buying into a break or some sort of gambling product within the hobby. I would say that there are additional risks. I think many people would definitely agree with that. So part of the point here that he's making as you go down kind of that comment section, which I think is interesting, and I understand exactly where he's coming from. He's basically saying, hey, look, you're pretending that somebody is buying a box and getting the value, equal value out of that box. So the point Jeremy's trying to make is, hey, you know, when you open up wax, which this is true, you know, are you going to get your money back in cards immediately? Are you going to get it back when you open up those boxes? You might You might, but certainly not every one. The system is not built like that. There's that randomization piece to it. But are you taking a gamble that there will not be any cards inside? No, you're not taking a gamble there. There will be cards inside, and whether they are currently valued at what you paid or in the future, they could be valued higher. You know, when people are opening up 2014 Prism basketball and they pulled a Giannis card out of it, they're probably like, oh, this is crap. Years later, obviously, you know, they're like, oh, cool, I actually pulled good cards. You received the cards. You received all the cards in the box. Let's use, since it's this channel, hey, what would you expect? An 80s, 90s analogy to kind of tie in with this, because I think it can pertain to what we're talking about here. So in the 80s, when you went to go buy cereal, I know people are like, where are we going with this? There was a huge aisle of cereal, and if you are around my age, 80s, you know that, man, that was a glorious place. Let's go and see what's going on with the tricks boxes. What sort of giveaways, prizes are they going to have in the Apple Jacks? So as a kid, you run down the cereal aisle, you're trying to find, okay, which cool sugary cereal. This is back in the day when parents didn't realize that all the sugar was bad. That was back when it was like, you know, we want low fat. That was back in time when the FDA was pushing low fat, but they weren't worried about carbs or sugar. So everything was low fat. That was the selling point. We don't want fat, low fat, but the sugar was off the charts. As kids, that's why we were so hyped up and riding bikes all day outside. So you go into the cereal aisle, and guess what? Every single one of these cereal boxes, there's a random prize that's inside of it. Tricks, it was an example of one where you could win all these different little prizes in it. Now, if we fractionalize that out like we do in breaks at sports cards, it might be that, hey, I'm buying into the tricks boxes. I'm buying into the break where I just want the bouncy ball toy that comes out of it. That's the prize, that's a giveaway I want. So I'm buying into a case, 12 boxes of tricks cereal, and I want that. Well, guess what? We opened up all 12 boxes. There's no bouncy ball in there. I get nothing. So I just paid in, I don't know, $20 into the tricks boxes, and I don't get anything. I don't even get the cereal. But if I go and buy the cereal, if I go buy a $5 box of cereal or $10 box of cereal, I get the whole contents of the cereal. Now, you could argue, you know what? Did I get $10 worth of good tasting cereal? Maybe, maybe not. I guess it depends. It depends on who bought the cereal. Do you like Tricks? Do you like Apple Jacks? Or were you just buying into the box to get the prize out of it? Or do you actually like the taste of the cereal? So while we're talking about the value of a box of cards that you're opening, and I'm not even talking about the entertainment value of opening it, put that over here to the side, but just the appreciation of the cards that set the design. Maybe if you go to sell that card on the secondary market, it's not worth $5, $10, or whatever you paid for to get into the box. Maybe it's not, but maybe you just really enjoy the cards. Maybe you're like, you know what, this is awesome. I just wanted to have 2024 Prism football, and that was the way that you could get into it quickly. You wanted to have it right now, as opposed to waiting, you know, a couple weeks, few weeks for all the kind of the singles to hit the market and buy it that way. So if we're looking at it from the gambling sense of, yeah, we don't know if we're going to get a one of one out of the box. Sure, that's one way of looking at, I guess, the gambling side of opening up a box of cards. But with the break, you might get nothing, and you're only left with the entertainment value, in quotation marks, or the lack thereof, or the devastation, whatever you want to call that. I don't know, is that de-entertainment? I'm not sure exactly what you would call that. But it's two very different things. But if we're just chalking it up as Jeremy did, kind of generalizing everything as it's a gamble. It's all a gamble. Everything's a gamble. Well, hell, you know, every time I walk outside, I could get hit by a bus. I guess I took a gamble. My wife made me dinner last night. She might have poisoned it. Maybe I took a gamble. You know, I mean, come on. Jeremy and I are both mainly singles buyers, so we are always going to preach, hey, look, opening boxes, getting into breaks, opening up new products especially, all of these things are probably going to be an immediate losing proposition for you. There will be instances. There are instances where online, I see the highlight reel where it's like, hey, you know, there's a guy bought into an $80 break spot and he got a $10,000 card. Bought into a $100 break spot, got a $1,500 card. I know those things happen. In my comment section, I've had people say like, hey, I got this really cool card from a break. I made out really well. We don't really hear more of the horror stories from it, and that's where I try to bring those to light when they do pop up. They're out there. It's just, look, a lot of guys just don't want to talk about that. You know, they're not going to come out and say like, yeah, you know, I'm 20 grand into breaks and I don't really have a whole lot to show for it. Except for entertainment. We got some entertainment value out of it, or, you know, maybe it's de-entertainment. As I've said before, I think that there is a place for breaks in the hobby. I do. I just think we've now kind of tripled down on it, supercharged it to where it's stupid and doesn't make sense. Too much of the allocation goes to breakers. I understand why, from a business standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, I totally get it. It all goes out on social media. Everyone gets fired up and excited and screaming over a Draymond Green card. At the Fanatics Fest, it was Draymond Green out of 275. Who gives a shit? It's not a hit. That is not a hit. But I won't go too far down the breaking rabbit hole here in this video. We'll save that for another one. Appreciate Jeremy's comments here. And look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. When I throw out opinions, people will argue with me and sort of thing. But being able to argue, actually have a respectful debate, I think is important in our hobby. I found that it can be a lost art, respectful debate, especially in the internet world where everyone's just got a keyboard and they can hide behind the keyboard. I get it. It's just the way that society is these days. But there's a lot of you that are great at it too. So I appreciate those comments. I'll be looking for them down below. Friends, have an amazing day ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.